With 33 million, 3.3 crore cases pending in Indian courts, at the current rate it will take 360 years to clear the backlog. This is mostly because the Indian legal system allows
date after date after date.
तारीख पर तारीख, तारीख पर तारीख, तारीख पर तारीख, तारीख पर तारीख मिलती रही है.
a tradition handed down by the Brits when they left the country. But in Britain, an average trial takes up only about 2 weeks of court time. Because sometime in the 80s, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher changed the law.
The trial may take a year or two to come up for hearing, but once hearings begin, no dates will be given.
This is proving something of a nightmare to Nirav Modi, currently lodged at the Wandsworth prison, whose second round of hearings began on September 7, 2020. The first round of hearings for his extradition concluded in May, immediately after his arrest. That has been covered by us in some detail. Bisbo now brings you a day-by-day account of the courtroom drama of the second leg, as if you were right there. Location: Westminster Magistrates Court, London. Courtroom of the Honourable Justice Samuel Guzzi. Case for the extradition of accused Nirav Modi. Petitioners: Government of India represented by CPS, Crown Prosecution Service. Barrister for CPS, Helen Malcolm. Barrister for Nirav, Claire Montgomery. Day 1, September 7, 2020. Nirav Modi attended the hearings through a video link from prison, dressed in a dark coat and white shirt and sporting a beard. The first day of the trial began with an application by Nirav's lawyers.
Your Honour, Justice Abhay Thipse's evidence should be taken in private as he was subject to disgraceful personal attacks and is concerned for his safety.
When the retired judge had deposed via video link for Nirav in the first leg of the trial, where he argued against India's extradition plea, Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad had called a press conference.
Justice Thipse is a member of the Congress. Therefore, his expert legal opinion is subject to his party's political bias. Did Justice Thipse himself also speak to the media?
It was a media storm and not of Thipse's doing.
I would like to consider the opinions of the members of the press present here.
All the 5 journalists representing Indian media organizations, including Danish Khan, journalist from Mumbai Mirror, were unanimous.
The evidence should not be in private. I will give my ruling on this after a short break.
On his return,
Justice Thipse would be aware of the high interest in the case. Application refused. The threshold required for a private sitting is not met.
since the prosecution has to prove their case for extradition, it is they who must lead evidence, which the accused will then try to shoot down. Crown Princess Helen Malcolm began the proceedings with a series of accusations.
Mr. Modi tried to hide evidence from investigators by transferring documents to his solicitor in Mumbai, including the original letters of undertaking from PNB.
When it was Claire's turn to speak, she started as all lawyers do, by refuting all allegations.
The documents were sent to India to seek legal advice.
The prosecution then showed the court a recently shot video of Mumbai's Arthur Road jail. After giving a tour of the jail premises, it focused specifically on Barrack 12, where Modi will be housed if extradited, adding specifically, "It has been shot without artificial light sources." It informed the court that the barrack was infinitely spacious with 20-foot high ceilings, has sufficient sources of natural light, fresh air and cross ventilation, an attached bathroom, 3 ceiling fans, 6 tube lights, and an LED TV. Coincidentally, this is the same barrack which would hold Vijay Mallya were he to get extradited to India. All this was to prove that there would be no risk of a breach of Article 3 and that India provides all its prisoners with hygienic facilities. Day 2, September 8, 2020. The prosecution provided Justice Samuel Guzzi official Indian prison data that showed COVID cases were at a manageable level in prison. Dismissing the data, the defense instead highlighted Nirav's vulnerability as a person suffering from severe depression.
Psychiatric help in Indian prisons is utterly inadequate. Nirav is at a higher risk of suicide.
Next, CPS barrister Helen Malcolm presented detailed witness statements, including a 20-minute video featuring 5 of Nirav's ex-employees.
We were coerced into signing documents. forced to stay in Cairo, and our mobile numbers were changed twice so we could not contact anyone outside.
Speaking in both Hindi and English, they gave a detailed description of how one of them was even threatened with death. Claire had a tough time defending this one.
Mr. Modi was, just giving advice and assistance.
Day 3, September 9, 2020. This day was devoted to the defense, whose only aim here was to prevent Nirav's extradition to India, calling Arthur Road Jail
An old-fashioned sweatbox, incredibly hot, dusty and damp and infested with insects and rodents.
then countered government prison data with reports from the Human Rights Commission and Mumbai's High Court. Indian jails are overcrowded, are understaffed and have appalling medical facilities. Having earlier built up her case that Nirav was a suicide candidate, she hammered her point home.
May the Honourable Judge note that the suicide rate at Arthur Road Jail is extremely high.
Then moved on to the problems created by the media back home.
Nirav is being lynched by the Indian media. He will never get a fair trial there.
And while there are many others who have stolen public money, including politicians,
Nirav has been made into a hate figure in India. There is an overwhelming political necessity to see him convicted.
Justice Thipse's testimony saying much the same thing was once again aired.
Nirav will not get a fair trial in India. The Indian judiciary is under stress and CBI and ED have been used to target people for electoral gains.
Claire then raised the issue of how Nirav's medical report regarding his mental health was leaked.
This kind of selective leaking of confidential information raises a question on the conduct of the Indian government.
Before the end of the day, ED and CBI moved the court to submit comprehensive written responses and new evidence, which was objected to by the defense.
I will decide on the admissibility of the new evidence on November 3rd.
Day 4, September 10th, 2020. Day 4 of the trial saw the defense bringing out 3 expert witnesses. Forensic psychiatrist Andrew Forrester revealed that Nirav was on antidepressants.
Coupled with a severe condition of depression, in my view, he presents a serious risk of suicide, though not immediately.
And that he showed signs of psychomotor retardation, a more severe form of depression which involves a visible slowing down in movement and speech. Answering the question everyone wants to know.
No, Nirav is not faking his symptoms.
The prosecution did not counter Nirav's mental condition and could only muster,
If he was given multi-professional mental health care in Mumbai better than Wandsworth prison, would that assurance be helpful?
This is when the defense rose as Claire made it clear.
Your Honour, we haven't been given any such assurances by the Indian government.
Next, the defense called upon Richard Coker, an expert in epidemiology and infectious disease.
COVID spreads easily in prisons, and there is a 0.75% risk of death should Nirav Modi contract it at Arthur Road Jail.
The prosecution made light of the minuscule statistical probability.
There is an equal possibility of bringing COVID-19 into this courtroom unwittingly.
And unwittingly gave us an idea of how long the extradition process, if successful, is likely to take.
Nirav's removal will not be for at least another year. We cannot predict the situation in Mumbai then.
When the infectious disease expert gave his professional opinion,
I cannot quite believe that there is just one active case of COVID at Arthur Road Jail.
Are you implying that the government of India is trying to mislead the court?
further into her cross-questioning, she tried whittling down the 0.75% chance down to almost zero.
Barrack 12 in Arthur Road Jail is located away from the general prison population. So isn't it safer than Wandsworth Prison where he is currently lodged?
Forced on the defensive, Coker wriggled out of a sticky situation.
I haven't seen the video of Wandsworth prison cell.
Lastly, the defense called upon Dr. Alan Mitchell, a medical practitioner and prisons expert who had also deposed for Vijay Mallya. He reiterated some of the same concerns.
Barrack 12 is not right for Nirav's mental health and well-being. There is a real risk Nirav's health will further deteriorate.
Day 5, September 11, 2020. The last day of the trial saw Claire Montgomery deposing ex-Supreme Court Justice of India Makarande Kajju, who lived up to his dramatic persona. Comparing India to Germany under the Nazi regime, he reiterated that Nirav would not get justice in India.
Modi has been made into a convenient scapegoat, just like the Jews were made in Nazi Germany.
Then targeted the agencies involved in his extradition.
Enforcement Directorate has secured only 15 convictions in its entire existence, and the CBI is doing the bidding of their political masters.
Questioned the credibility of India's Supreme Court.
Demolition of the mosque and paving the way for the construction of Ram Temple was a criminal act.
And cast doubts on the nomination of Ranjan Gogoi to the Rajya Sabha.
It is nothing but a quid pro quo for his support to the central government.
Firing back, Helen Malcolm then quizzed the retired judge.
You yourself were appointed as chairman of the Press Council of India after retiring as Supreme Court judge. Isn't that a political move as well?
But I was not appointed by the government of India.
Defense counsel Claire Montgomery then veered the line of questioning back to the case.
What do you think about the press conference held by Law Minister Ravi Shankar?
It is preposterous. How can a minister announce a verdict? He should have said Nirav Modi will face serious charges instead of saying publicly that he is guilty. This just goes to show that the government is looking for someone to throw under the bus.
Do you think it was appropriate to speak to the press about your appearance before you gave the evidence?
I got calls from the media. They contacted me.
You could have just said no comment.
Helen Malcolm then changed her line of questioning.
Why are you defending Mr. Modi?
I am not making any statements on the merits of this case. I am simply saying that he cannot get a fair trial since ministers and media have already pronounced him guilty.
It became quite a fiery exchange at times.
You are something of a self-publicist who will say outrageous things for the purpose of courting the press.
Uncovering some of his past controversial statements.
You once said gay relationships are unnatural and women who remain single are prone to psychological problems. How can we take any of your statements seriously?
The former judge remained unruffled.
I am entitled to my opinion.
The final hearing is scheduled for January 7th and 8th, and a judgment is expected to be issued soon thereafter. India has not been particularly successful with extradition requests from England. Naval officer Ravi Sankaran, music composer Nadeem Saifi, Gujarat blast accused Tiger Hanif, as they managed to convince the UK courts that they would never get a fair trial in India. Now it may be all the more easier for them to prove this. Look at the way the media has unnecessarily gone after Riya Chakraborty. And Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh will unwittingly have made it easier for Nirav's lawyers.
CBI is a professional agency, but of late it has been used to settle political cause.
Still, there is hope. All the earlier were related to criminal charges. This one is for financial fraud affecting public funds, which may be taken more seriously in the UK. Bisbo's Limerick. Nirav Modi is trying to stop his extradition. The merits of the case are not in consideration. The essence of his fight is to show India in bad light and hope the courts believe him, cause that's his only option. Subscribe to Bisbo and click on the bell icon to get notified whenever Bisbo releases a new video. Sources of all our information is listed in the video description section.